Before we start working in Maya, there are two essential navigation controls you need to know. Hold Alt and left mouse button to rotate the view. Hold Alt and middle mouse button to pan or move the screen. And finally, you can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Mastering these basics will make your workflow much smoother. Before we begin, the first step is to save your scene. Go to the top left corner, click on File, then choose Save Scene As. Now give your scene a name, anything you like. It's a good habit to use clear and consistent names, so it's easier to find your files later. Let's begin creating the bottom part of our snowman in Maya. Go to the Create menu and choose a polygon sphere. Scale the sphere to make it large enough for the base, and move it slightly above the grid so it rests properly. Now, to prepare for the next part, we'll duplicate this sphere. Select it, and press Ctrl+D to make a copy. We'll use that duplicate in the next step as we continue building the snowman. Now, select the Move tool, and move the duplicated sphere above the base to create the middle part of the snowman. Use the Scale tool to shrink it down slightly, so it looks smaller than the bottom sphere. Next, let's duplicate this sphere once more by pressing Ctrl+D. Move it to the top to form the head, and scale it again to match the size you'd expect for a snowman's head. As you position each part, make sure to check your model from different views, top, side, and front, so everything stays aligned and looks natural. Now that the body and head are in place, let's add eyes to give our snowman some personality. Start by going to the Create menu, and choose a polygon sphere, just like we did earlier. This time, scale the sphere down to a much smaller size, something that resembles an eye. Use the Move tool to bring it forward, and position it carefully on the front of the snowman's head. It's important to check this placement from multiple angles. Use the front, side, and top views to make sure it looks right and is not floating or buried in the surface. Once you're satisfied with the position, select the eye and press Ctrl+D to duplicate it. Move the duplicated eye over to the other side of the face, trying to match the height and spacing as closely as possible. Again. Now let's give our snowman a nose to complete its face. If you've ever seen a snowman sculpture, you'll notice the nose usually looks like a carrot, long and pointed like a cone. To create that, go to the Create menu and choose a polygon cone. Once it appears, use the Move tool to bring it up to the head area. Rotate the cone so that it points forward, just like a real carrot would stick out from the snowman's face. Adjust its position carefully, and as always, check from all views, front, side, and top, to make sure it's placed perfectly and looks natural. Now that our snowman has eyes and a nose, it's time to give him a hat to finish the look. For this, we'll use two simple objects, a torus and a cylinder. First, let's create the torus, which will act as the brim of the hat. Go to the Create menu, then choose Polygon Primitives, and select Torus. A torus is shaped like a ring or donut, and it's perfect for creating a wide base that sits on top of the head. Once it appears, use the Scale tool to flatten it vertically and stretch it out sideways. You want it to be thin and wide, just like the brim of a top hat. Now use the Move tool to position it on the snowman's head. Take your time adjusting it from every angle, front, side, top, and perspective views. Make sure the torus isn't floating above the head or cutting through it. It should rest naturally. If needed, adjust the section radius or subdivisions for a smoother, more stylized shape. Once the brim is in place, let's move on to the top of the hat. Create a polygon cylinder from the same Create menu. Scale it vertically to make it tall and narrow, like the body of a top hat. Then, move it directly on top of the torus, centered and upright. You can fine-tune its position using all the views to make sure it looks balanced and clean. Once everything is aligned, your snowman now has a full winter hat. You can also stylize it more by changing proportions or adding extra detail later. Now let's add an arm to our snowman to make it more lively. We'll use a polygon cylinder to model the stick-like arm. Go to the Create menu, choose Polygon Primitives, and select Cylinder. When it appears in the scene, use the Scale tool to stretch it out along its length. You want it to look long and thin, similar to a branch. Next, rotate the cylinder so that it tilts outward from the body. Snowman arms are usually angled slightly upwards or to the side. Use the Move tool to bring the cylinder close to the middle body sphere. Carefully position it so one end of the cylinder is slightly embedded into the body, making it look naturally attached. Now, take some time to check the placement from multiple views, especially the front, side, and top, so you can see if it sits correctly and doesn't float or pierce through the model oddly. You can also make small tweaks to the rotation or scale to get the arm just right. Once you're satisfied with the positioning, the first arm is now complete. Start by selecting the center edge loop of the cylinder. With the Move tool, gently pull this edge forward along the axis. This step adds a slight taper to the middle, helping the cylinder start to take on a more organic, stick-like appearance. Don't overdo the movement, just enough to break the perfect shape and give it a more natural feel. Once you're happy with that, switch back to object mode by right-clicking on the model and selecting it from the marking menu. Now, we're going to add some edge loops to define where we'll extrude a small branch. Hold down Shift plus right-click, and from the menu that appears, choose Insert Edge Loop tool. Carefully click and add 2 edge loops near the front end of the cylinder. These will help control the extrusion and add more definition. You can zoom in a bit if needed to place the loops accurately. Make sure there's enough space between them to allow for a clear extrusion. Once the loops are added, go back to Face mode by right-clicking and selecting Face from the marking menu. Now select the face between the 2 edge loops. This will be the area we extrude to create the branch. Press Ctrl plus E to activate the Extrude tool. Then use the Move tool to pull that face slightly forward. This small extrusion gives the stick more character and mimics the natural unevenness you'd expect from a real wooden branch. If needed, you can also scale the new extrusion slightly to make it thinner at the tip. And check the shape from all views, front, side, and perspective, to make sure it looks the way you want. This kind of detail helps make your snowman feel handcrafted and more lifelike. And that's how you modify the arm to look like a real stick, using simple modeling tools in Maya. I think it's looking a bit small, so let's extend it a little more. That way, the arm feels longer and looks more like a real stick you'd actually use for a snowman. Now let's add more detail to the extruded part of the branch. Hold Shift plus right-click and choose the Insert Edge Loop tool, then place 2 loops on the extrusion. After that, right-click and go to Face mode, then select the face at the front. Press Ctrl plus E to extrude again and pull the face forward slightly using the Move tool. This adds extra length and makes the branch feel more realistic. You can also scale the end to make it thinner. Finally, check the shape in all views to be sure it looks natural. Now let's repeat the same process for the other side of the snowman. Duplicate the first arm or create a new cylinder, scale it, rotate it, and position it on the opposite side of the body. Go into Edge mode, select the center edge, and move it slightly forward to get that natural stick shape. Then add 2 edge loops to the front of the arm using Insert Edge Loop tool. Switch to Face mode, select the front face, and press Ctrl plus E to extrude. This time, pull the extrusion in the opposite direction to create a branch pointing outward. Scale the tip if needed, and check the result in all views to make sure it matches the first arm in style and balance. After creating all the extrusions, you'll notice that the branches are looking too straight and uniform. That doesn't feel natural. Real sticks and branches usually bend or angle in different ways. So now we need to make each branch feel more organic. Start by selecting the first branch and go into Vertex mode or Edge mode depending on what feels easier to control. Use the Move tool to slightly shift parts of the branch. You can move edges, or even tweak individual vertices, to bend or angle the branch a little. Repeat this for all 4 branches, 2 on each arm. Make sure each one points in a slightly different direction. This step will help your snowman feel more handmade and natural, instead of looking too perfect or robotic. Finally, orbit around the model and view it from every angle to ensure the branches look balanced but not too symmetrical. Now that we've completed one full arm with branches, it's time to duplicate it for the other side. First, select the entire arm, make sure all the connected parts are included. Press Ctrl plus D to duplicate the arm. Now use the Rotate tool to turn it in the opposite direction. Gently move the duplicated arm to the other side of the snowman's body. Make sure it's aligned well with the shoulder area, and adjust the height if needed. Just like we did before, rotate or tweak the branches slightly so they don't look exactly the same as the first arm. This gives more variation and helps both arms feel like natural, uneven sticks. Finally, check the full model from all angles and make any final adjustments to the position, rotation, or scale for a more effective look. Now let's add some buttons to our snowman to give it a bit more detail and personality. We'll start by creating a cylinder. This shape works perfectly for a button. Once the cylinder appears in the scene, use the Scale tool to flatten it out, make it thinner and smaller until it starts to look like a button. Next, use the Move tool to bring the button forward and place it on the middle part of the snowman's body. Take a moment to line it up correctly in the center. You may also need to rotate the button slightly so it sits neatly along the curve of the snowman's round surface. A flat button won't look right unless it's angled to match the shape of the body. Once you're happy with how it looks, press Ctrl+D to duplicate the button. Move the second button just a little lower, and again adjust the rotation to follow the body's shape. Don't worry about making them perfect, slight variations make them look more realistic. Now press Ctrl+D one more time to create a third button. Move it even lower than the second and adjust its angle as well. Try to space all three buttons evenly, and rotate each one slightly differently to give it that handmade feel. If you like, you can also scale one or two of them just a bit smaller or larger. Finally, use different views, like front, side, and perspective, to double-check the positions and make sure the buttons look well placed. And with that, your snowman now has a classic button design that really... Now let's give our snowman a clean final look by adding some color. First, select any part of the snowman, then go to the attribute editor. From there, you can choose and apply a material color. Set it to white, and it will be applied to all the selected polygons. This gives your snowman a smooth, snowy appearance. To apply a different color to a specific object, first select the object you want to color. Then, right-click on it and choose Assign New Material from the menu. In the pop-up, select Lambert as the material type. After that, go to the attribute editor where you'll see the Lambert settings. Now click on the color box, choose the color you want, and it will be applied only to the selected object. Repeat this process for each part of the snowman you want to color separately. Now it's time to bring our snowman to life with some final touches of color. We'll go object by object and assign simple, clean materials to each one. To do that, just right-click, choose Assign New Material, and select Lambert. Then in the attribute editor, pick a color that fits, something that gives character and charm. You can keep it classic and simple, or play with some creative tones to make your snowman stand out. Make sure to check from all camera angles, sometimes things look right from one side but off from another. If one object needs to match another, you can reuse the same material, or make small tweaks to keep things visually interesting. Don't rush through this part, it's all about personality and balance. Adjust brightness or tone if needed until everything feels just right. Once you finish coloring, step back, rotate around, and appreciate how far the model has come. A simple scene, but with just a bit of thoughtful color, it feels alive. Now that everything is colored and in place, let's give our snowman a polished look. Select all the objects in the scene by dragging a selection box or using Ctrl+A. Then, go to the top menu and apply Smooth. This will soften the shapes and make the snowman look more natural and rounded. Once that's done, take a final look from all angles. And just like that, your snowman is ready. Thanks for learning with me. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new tutorial. Keep creating.